Hello and welcome. The goal of this podcast is to get listeners connected with others in the sports industry because they say it's all about who you know, and now you know us. Hello and welcome, everybody. This is your host, Connor Shank, and you're listening to the Constant Sports Podcast, the podcast that is committed to connecting you with other sports professionals because they say it's all about who you know, and now you know Steven Shapiro. Thanks for joining us today, Steven.
Thanks for having me, Connor.
Anytime. So, for the listeners and viewers out there, Steven, Dr. Shapiro here is a professor, associate chair, and director of graduate program at the University of South Carolina, and we'll discuss the different programs. I know you have a doctorate degree at the university as well as different master's programs. We'll talk about some classes, class structure, different admissions things, maybe some insider trading on what you look for when admitting potential students and whatnot. So let's just dive in here and maybe give us the listeners and viewers an overview, maybe history of the programs that the university has.
Yeah, so in general, the University of South Carolina Sport and Entertainment Management program has degrees at three levels: bachelor's, master's, and PhD. We're actually the largest sport and entertainment management program in the world. We have 1,400 undergrad majors, about 70 master students, around 15 PhD students, and 28 faculty. So that's a large program, but it also provides us the opportunity to have kind of a wide net in terms of what we do and the connections that we have. It's been around, I've been here, this is my seventh year, but the program's been around for probably around 25 or 30 years, starting as just a bachelor's degree, and then they added a master's maybe in the early 2000s, and then probably 6-7 years ago, right before I got here, they added a PhD program. And so now it's kind of a full-fledged program that's got three different levels of degrees, and then the unique aspect of the program is that it's sport and entertainment. So it's not just sport, the business of sport, but really the business of live ticketed events, which can include concerts, theater, festivals, other things that you would buy a ticket and go be entertained with live entertainment.
Right, yeah, and we'll discuss that a little bit later on here in the podcast because I know that's kind of one of your areas of study and focus is ticket pricing and the dynamic and secondary markets. So we'll touch on that little foreshadowing there. And then as far as the students, so you mentioned I think they have 70 and kind of the masters and 1,400 in the undergrad. Is there certain criteria that maybe we're just focused on the masters for now? Certain criteria the students have, 3 to 5 years of sports experience, no sports experience when they enter the program. Kind of what does that look like?
Yeah, so we get a variety of different type of students. We don't have a specific experience that you need, but it is part of the evaluation process. And when I say experience, it doesn't necessarily mean that a student graduated with their bachelor's and then worked in the industry full time. That experience can happen while you're in your bachelor's degree through internships, volunteering, working events, that type of thing. But really, we look for students that have a good balance of academic performance. They did well in their undergrad degree, and that degree could be in anything. Students that have degrees in business and sport management wouldn't have to take any prerequisites, where a student that, let's say, was a chemistry major and was interested in sport and entertainment management could still be in our program. They may just have to take a prerequisite course to start out. But students that have done well academically in their undergrad, and then students that have some experience in sport and business will be helpful. And then also students that, have good recommendations. So those are the things that, drive the admissions process.
Got it. Yeah, very important there. And then as they, are admitted to the program, what is the typical duration of the program? How many credits? That type of structure.
So we actually have two programs in the master's level. Our traditional master in sport and entertainment management is 1.5 years degree. So students that start in the fall, which is typical, usually finish the following fall. So they take three semesters of courses and then do a capstone, either an internship or thesis in that fourth semester. We also have a new combined degree program. students can get their Masters of Sport and Entertainment Management and their MBA within one program. So they end up with two
Wow.
master's degrees, which we think is a great addition to our program and adds a lot of value. That program is 66 credit hours, so it takes about 2 years, 6 consecutive semesters where students take MBA courses primarily at first with a couple of sport management courses, and then they shift gears and take primarily sport and entertainment management courses the second year.
I see, I see. And then as far as the, mentioned the sport and entertainment kind of courses, are there some newer courses that you've added with maybe sports technology or things that have kind of, popped up in the sports sector, sports industry that you've, added to the course list maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have our core required courses that
Hmm.
don't change too often.
Right.
Marketing, management, law, finance, event operations, research methods,
Hmm.
statistics. And then we have a bulk of electives. And as you mentioned, Connor, things are changing in the industry. And so we try to adapt to that. So we offer classes in analytics, we offer classes in esports. We're on the search for an assistant professor that has
Wow.
expertise in artificial intelligence. As technology advances within sport, we try to stay on top of that in terms of class offerings, either offering material within a class, or offering an entire class on the topic if we think it has value to those going into the industry.
Right, right. And then as far as you mentioned searching for a possible professor or teacher for this AI kind of program, could you speak to the professors that are in the program, maybe some of their backgrounds, some of their credentials, if you will, things like that?
Yeah, one of the things we really pride ourselves on here is the, both the size and the experience that our faculty have. So we have a really good mix of faculty that have research and academic experience, and then faculty that have a lot of industry experience.
Mm.
I could say we're probably the only program that I'm aware of that has two former major professional sport presidents on
Yeah.
their faculty. So Susan O'Malley is the former president of the Washington Wizards in the Verizon Center, and was the first female president of a major sports franchise in the U.S. And then Dr. Danny Morrison is the former president of the Carolina Panthers and the former athletic director of TCU. So they're right down the hallway from myself working in our department. So we have faculty that have a lot of expertise. Dr. Bill Sutton's a former president of the NBA, vice president of the NBA. And so we really bring that wealth of experience to the table in terms of networking, in terms of knowledge, in addition to research experience and in a variety of different areas, marketing, law, analytics, finance, operations, venue management. Our faculty kind of cover all these different areas to provide students with the expertise and the industry network that they'll need to be successful.
Yeah, 100%. The industry network is something I think is very, important. And as, students are in grad programs or things of that nature, I feel like that's one of the things that, professors, teachers, and, is kind of talked about is the network and building out your network and getting connected. So are there certain maybe events or functions or things that the program does that connects students with, alumni or students with team presence, kind of as you mentioned?
Yeah, so a big part of our program is gaining experience. So what I like to tell our students is there's three pieces to the pie of, making them, I guess, ready for the industry and capitalizing on what they get here to be prepared to be competitive in the market.
Hmm.
Knowledge that you're getting in the classroom, a big one, making sure you're expanding your knowledge and learning as much as you can about the industry is one piece. The second piece is networking. As I mentioned, we have faculty that have a lot of industry experience and a lot of connections, and so do our alum that graduate the program. And then the third one, which is just as important, the other two, is experience. While you're here, you're going to get experience working. That's a big part of what we do, and we have some great connections. One of the biggest ones is we have a partnership with Augusta National, where we have 600 students work the masters, including graduate students. So students can work the masters every year and get experience of a prestigious event and working in golf. And then that's just one event. We
Hmm.
constantly are working events, PGA events, NFL, Major League Baseball events, college athletics. We have a great partnership with Gamecock Athletics, and students work games throughout the year here locally. The Columbia Fireflies minor league baseball team, the Charlotte Sports Foundation. So there's a lot of opportunities that we are on a regular basis are providing to students and expecting them to get involved so that they have that experience and it directs them to what their future is going to be when they graduate.
Yeah, and then gaining that experience while you're in the program is obviously important. Gaining the knowledge and networking beyond. You mentioned some of the kind of the jobs and things that students in the program have got and companies they've worked for. But could you talk to maybe after they've graduated, maybe 3 to 5 years down the line, just off the top of your head, where some of the alumni have landed and where they're at now?
Yeah, so we have so one of the benefits is we have students everywhere, and it helps
Yeah,
me as a graduate advisor and coordinator to say, oh, you're interested in event operations, you want to work on the West Coast, I'll go to LinkedIn and find alumni or partners that we have that have worked in those areas. So we have students that are working with multiple NFL teams right now, graduates of our program. We have students working with the Charlotte Sports Foundation. We have students working with at the Kentucky Derby. We have
yep,
2 students, graduates of our program, working at Augusta National. We have students working in within agencies, Wasserman.
right.
We have a couple students working up in North Carolina at Wasserman. We have a student working with TNT and esports, working over with Turner Sport over in Atlanta. So there's been a lot of opportunities just this is my 3rd year,
Yeah.
4th year. I've been doing it for 3 years as the grad coordinator. And we've seen a lot of alumni, graduates and alumni be successful in the industry and continue to move on. So we're proud of that and hope that it creates opportunity for new students coming in.
Yeah, for sure. That's probably very cool for you to see kind of the starting and the finish, not finishing, but starting and kind of and the ending process there. And speaking on the new students, we talked a little bit about kind of the program itself, but as far as maybe skills, technical or interpersonal skills that you've seen, maybe students have the best success with, or something that you find in a good student, are there certain skills or things that you've seen stand out?
Yeah, I think that's a great question too. What skills will prepare you to be successful in grad school, but also be successful in the industry. To me, a big thing is in our industry, it's competitive and it's
Hmm.
front facing.
Hmm.
There's skills that are going to be helpful in those areas. Obviously, being a good communicator, uh, being passionate about what you're doing. A lot of times we'll have students that are passionate about sport, which is good. They're a fan of a
Yeah,
team or a sport. But we want them to be passionate about the business,
right.
that they want to be passionate about sales or marketing or event operations. And we try to help guide them in that direction. So passion, definitely communication skills, critical thinking and flexibility, I think is a
Mm.
big skill. Sport is evolving in entertainment all the time. And so your ability to adapt and be flexible to things that change. We were talking about analytics and artificial intelligence and those
Mhm.
types of things. As new things come aboard, that are trends or changes within the industry, to be able to adapt to those are really important. And then, as I mentioned before, critical thinking, being able to think on your feet, change, be a leader, be a role player when you need to be, all play a big role in terms of your success in our program and really your success, within the industry.
Right. Yeah, I think it's much needed, and some of those skills obviously come with time and different experience, obviously. And I kind of want to change gears a little bit and dive into maybe some of the areas of research that interest you and whatnot. And one of them that stuck out to me was the fantasy sport consumer behavior. So could you maybe maybe a brief overview of kind of what that is, maybe for the listeners and viewers that are maybe don't know what it is or anything like that?
Yeah, so it's exciting to do research in an area where you enjoy doing it, the activity anyway. So I play fantasy. I'm not very necessarily good at it. My team's in last place right now, but happy to be doing it. So I do research in consumer behavior in general, and one of the areas that we took a liking to, myself and a couple of colleagues of mine, and have expanded that, is looking at complementary activities, activities that are complements to the core product, which is consuming sport,
Right.
and that enhance it or maybe change how you consume. So fantasy is a great example of that, right? So people play fantasy sport and all of a sudden they're interested in more than just their favorite team.
Hmm.
They're interested in multiple teams, and now they're watching multiple games, and the Red Zone channel becomes something that you're addicted to. And watching that Monday night football game where you normally could care less about the two teams playing, but you have the tight end on one of the teams.
Yep.
That's really changed the amount of consumption and how we consume sport.
Mm.
And so we've done research on that, looking at one of the interesting findings is most consumers, sport consumers, don't leave their favorite team. It's not like they don't care about their favorite team anymore and just care about their fantasy players. It really complements, it just enhances the consumption that a fan's already doing. And it's also become a gateway where individuals that maybe didn't have a favorite team or really weren't into sport that much, a particular sport, latch onto it because they have ownership in their own fantasy team. So that's been some really cool research. And now we've extended it to gambling. Now that sport gambling has become legal in most states, same idea. It's a complementary activity. People do that in conjunction with watching sport. How does it change their viewing habits? Are they more interested in pieces of games or multiple games instead of one game? So it's been a really interesting area of research to do, and also opens the door to, from a practical perspective, to help students understand, gambling is becoming legal, so gambling platforms are job opportunities. You can work with DraftKings, you can work with FanDuel, you can work with Yahoo and fantasy, or ESPN fantasy. These complementary activities are not just small pieces, they're huge pieces, and they provide changes in the dynamic of sport and then also jobs.
Yeah, for sure. And then, yeah, like you mentioned, with I guess sports gambling becoming more prevalent across the country, and it'll be interesting to see where that leads in the next 5 to 10 years, kind of how that's going to evolve and play new roles with. I'm assuming more, apps and more technology will be used. Have you seen with Amazon how they do the AI, and they show like what routes and things will be open? Have you seen that yet?
I can't, I'm trying to think if because I watched Thursday night football. I don't know if I've seen it separately from the broadcast of the game. But that's a really cool opportunity to get fans engaged into, the nuances of football that might go beyond the scope of just what you'd hear in a typical broadcast.
Right. Yeah. It kind of takes it next level, and then it'll show, with analytics, like 4th and 2 is a go, or, 4th and 4 is a no go. And I think those types of things that make it maybe a little bit more engaging for the, I guess, casual fan, or someone who's just watching to watch their wide receiver and quarterback, but they maybe don't know like who the Bears are and who the Lions are, type of thing. I
Yeah.
think that's
Well,
very important.
yeah, one thing I was going to say was interesting. I was watching a game last weekend, and the broadcaster, this wasn't an Amazon game, just on CBS or whatever.
Hmm.
And the broadcaster, it was a 4th down from like, the 44-yard line,
Yeah.
4th and 3. And the broadcaster said they're going for it, and they're doing what the analytics say you should do in this
Right.
situation. So the broadcasters actually has that information and saying, the coach is making an analytical decision based on the data, and kind of bringing that into the game, because
Right.
maybe fans are thinking, why are they going for it?
Hmm.
So I thought that's an interesting supplement.
Yeah, very, and it being live, and live action, and on the spot there is very cool. And I wanted to touch on maybe one last thing regarding the area of interest, where that is, primary and secondary markets. Could you explain to the listeners and viewers maybe what that even is? What's a primary and secondary market regarding ticket pricing?
Yeah, sure. So, one of the things about ticketing, obviously other products you can do this, but with ticketing is that when you buy a ticket, you can go to the event and use it, you can give it away, or you can sell it.
Hmm.
For a long time, how you could resell a ticket was very limited,
Yeah.
pre-internet and pre-online platforms. There was a lot of laws and ordinances about how far you could be away from a stadium, or you can't do it in a city. Once online platforms and StubHub in particular blew up, that kind of went away. You can
Yeah.
really sell tickets at any price online from anywhere. And it really changed the dynamic of the ticket, the whole ticketing environment. an individual person now can go online. I bring this up with in my classes all the time. Ask students, where do you go look for tickets? Some people say, well, I go to the team website or just Ticketmaster.
Mm.
Other people say, I go directly to StubHub or TickPick, or I go to Ticketmaster because you can see the team's prices and resale prices. So it's kind of become a normal activity for us as consumers to shop around and look at tickets being resold at different levels. And so it became an area of interest in terms of my research early on, particularly with a colleague of mine from the University of Northern Colorado that did his dissertation on pricing, Joris Strayer. And I started to partner with him because we were looking at the evolution of dynamic ticket pricing, which is
Right.
real-time price changes that you see in hotels and airlines.
Mm-hmm.
Teams were starting to experiment with this. And so we were looking at how that had evolved and what's dynamic ticket pricing. Really, it's a response to this secondary ticket market.
Right.
The fact that people will go to a resale market to find tickets that they for a cheaper price or different price than they might get on the primary market. And so teams had to adapt to that. And that's where dynamic ticket pricing came from. So I do a lot of research in that area to understand consumers' responses to these dual markets and dynamic ticket pricing and those types of things.
Right. Yeah. And I think that all that's very interesting to kind of, it's interesting that, you mentioned with the airlines and hotels, how that was, live changing prices and whatnot, and that kind of made its way to sports. And I think that's just fascinating how sports kind of just models some of the behaviors of regular just consumer behavior throughout other industries, right? That they're like, okay, that works well. Let's bring it over into sports. And I think we saw that a little bit last week, or maybe when the Phillies, but you see some of the Phillies fans were buying a bunch of Arizona Diamondback tickets so that it could be like empty. There was a little bit of that, but that just speaks to, kind of buying tickets from wherever and then just trying to jack up the prices so the home team has to fork out some extra cash. So I thought that was pretty, typical for Phillies fans. I don't know from what I've seen. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that's interesting. Obviously, you have that, if you have a ticket, you can do what you want with it. So
Yeah,
you can end up in those types of situations.
definitely. And then I just want to kind of wrap up with the program and maybe talk to the listeners and potential students here about maybe what the future looks like for the program, some cool things that the program has on the horizon, really without maybe giving away company secrets, I guess.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to always provide kind of where we're going. So, we're excited about this combined degree, as we mentioned. So
Hmm.
students have an option of just doing the traditional Masters in Sport and Entertainment Management or getting an MBA. So I really think it adds value, and students that are going to go in the industry and the MBA would be important to them, have that opportunity. And our plan is to expand that to where we're partnering with our business school. They have a master's in business analytics. And so we're planning on right now we have a sport analytics class, but we're going to have a combined degree where students can get an analytics degree
Hmm.
and get a master's in sport and entertainment. So that's on the horizon. We're excited about that. And then our University of South Carolina has the #1 international MBA program in the world. And we've just agreed to partner with them, and we're going to work on, it's going to take a year or two to get it going, but to have a international sport combined degree where students get a master's of sport and entertainment and an international MBA. And that would be perfect for students that have interests in global sport. They want to work overseas, or they want to work for an organization that does business in multiple countries, and the international MBA would have value to them. We're going to offer them. As you mentioned, what's new on the horizon? Well, certainly international global sport
Yeah.
continues to grow. And so our students, we want them to be prepared for job opportunities, not just in the US, but, wherever those opportunities are a fit for them and the best for them.
Yeah, no, definitely. And just piggybacking along with that idea is where we've seen the NFL is playing all these London games. NBA goes overseas, baseball's be going to Mexico and things like that. I guess the American sports landscape model is really taking wings. And, they've even talked about putting NFL teams, across the pond over there, which would be very interesting to kind of see how that plays out going forward. But that's yeah, that's just something I guess to keep an eye on, and more job opportunities opening up possibly overseas.
Absolutely. Yep.
And then regarding the application process, is there a certain open and close date? Is it rolling? How does that work?
Yeah, so it's open now. So students that are interested in fall of 2024 could apply at any time.
Hmm.
Our deadline is April 1st for consideration of a grad assistantship. We offer most of our admitted students a grad assistantship, and the benefit there is that they get a waiver, so they only pay in-state tuition. So we get students out of state that are interested, they'll only have to pay in-state tuition. And they get $2,500 a semester to work 10 hours a week with a faculty member in our department. And so it's a great way to help supplement, get experience and help supplement the cost of going to grad school.
Yeah.
So I tell students really we have rolling admissions. They can apply at any time. Most students will apply December, January time period for a fall start date.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, we'll make sure to kind of blast that out and share it with the listeners and viewers. And then, as far as maybe getting more information, is it just best to go to the website, or how?
Yeah, so you can go to our website, and we have our own Masters of Sport and Entertainment Management page on the Department of Sport and Entertainment Management website for the University of South Carolina. You can also follow on social media our HRSM page, which is on University of South Carolina HRSM, which is Facebook, X now, Twitter X, Instagram. They're on most of, I think TikTok. I think they're on most social media channels. And then our faculty are found. Myself, I mainly use Twitter X, but I'm on there. But we have, of our 28 faculty, a lot of them are on various social media channels, so you can connect directly with them. We're all on LinkedIn. Yep. So we can connect through that as well. So there's a lot of different ways to communicate with us as faculty, with myself as the coordinator, or just get information, on the website.
Perfect. Yeah. So for those listeners and viewers, it sounds like that's probably some of the best ways to get connected and follow the program and maybe learn more about the program there. And as we wrap up here, I'd like to do a little no huddle and kind of fire off some quick hitters for you. So starting off, this one's always a hard one for the professors to say, though. What is your favorite class to teach?
Yeah, for me, I think it's marketing. I research consumer behavior, so I really enjoy teaching marketing. I get to teach it at undergrad and graduate level. It's a fun topic. We can get into a lot of things. We partner with organizations and do marketing projects with them, and so that's always been a fan favorite for me.
Yep, no, I love it. And then what about? Do you have a favorite maybe quote or motto or saying that you really like?
Yeah, it's funny because you were talking about it briefly about coming up with that for the podcast. I was thinking about what quote do I have? So I'm going to connect it a little bit directly to students and to the masters. And also I think it's a great quote. So it's from Barack Obama. And basically he was in an interview and he said, the most important advice that I can give to young people is to just learn how to get stuff done. And he said he's seen at every level people who are very good at describing problems, people who are sophisticated in explaining why something went wrong or why something can't get fixed. But he's always looking for is no matter how small the problem, how big it is, somebody says, let me take care of that. Yep. And I think that really hits home with our students because you get so caught up with maybe these broader, leadership goals and stuff. And in the end, you move up in this industry by being the person that can get things done.
Right. Just kind of figuring it out is huge, right? Just get it done, figure it out, learn how to do it. So, and then kind of next question, do you have a favorite book or maybe a book you're reading now that you enjoy?
Yeah, so a book I finished recently that I enjoyed from a professional aspect is Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. He's a Nobel Prize winning behavioral economist, and it really kind of looks into, again, I'm a consumer behavior person, so looking into the psychology of how our mind works and how we take shortcuts and how that might lead to certain behaviors that we're going to do or not do if we're not paying attention, and how we could use that in business and psychology and life and that type of thing. So that's a really good book from whatever area of sport industry you're interested in.
Yeah, no, making sure that you understand the consumer is obviously very important, especially within kind of the sector we're in here. And then as far as we mentioned kind of LinkedIn and X and things like that, but is there a certain medium or sources that you follow to stay up to date with the sports industry or maybe just business industry?
Yeah, so I mean, certainly social media is giving you real-time information updates. But in terms of general information, I subscribe to both Sport Business Journal and Sport Business International. Both of those are leading industry magazines in sports. They really get into the business of sport instead of just sport from a fan perspective. And then I also look at Sportico. They do kind of the same thing. Those are my favorites. And then certainly, like I said, social media, following people that have expertise in sport business, faculty that are well known, or industry people that are leaders in the industry are great to get information. And then all of these outlets that I just mentioned have social media as well, and they're posting information daily. So
right, yeah, very, very important to kind of keep up with, and I feel like they all maybe they post similar content, but there's enough to where you can find your vein or your niche of sports business related topics. So those are all definitely very I guess key aspects of the industry. So that concludes our episode today. Thanks for stopping by and sharing a little bit more about the program and about your expertise in the sports industry. So for the listeners and viewers out there, this episode will be on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, anywhere you want to find your podcasts. And before we go, I'll kind of give you the floor and share any thoughts or I guess what you mentioned where people can find you, but just kind of give you the floor and kind of end out this episode.
Well, first I want to just thank you, Connor, for letting me come on and talk to you for a little while and share a little bit about what we do here at the University of South Carolina. So yeah, again, for those that are interested in a grad program, looking for a master's, I think it's an important decision, and definitely do your diligence and look at what the programs are doing here at the University of South Carolina. We're growing. Our Master's of Sport and Entertainment Management is doing some really interesting and fun things from the standpoint of learning about the industry and evolving as it evolves. And so I'm excited to hear from anyone that's interested and help direct them and what their future might be within the sport industry. So thank you again.
Yeah, of course. And and we'll be sure to, drop all the places to follow the program and yourself on the website. So make sure to stay tuned for all those listeners and viewers. And that's been another episode of the Constant Sports Podcast, and we'll see you guys next week.